Hi, Dr. P here, and I'm going to talk about 6 different and sometimes conflicting goals that commercial game designers need to keep in mind. The first goal is the traditional goal of people who wanted to design games for serious game players as opposed to family games and party games, and that is gameplay depth. You wanted to put the player on the horns of a dilemma where the player had to make hard choices, where the player had to earn what he got. This is very much going out of fashion, unfortunately, from my point of view. People treat games more as light entertainment than they used to. And so gameplay depth has been replaced with variety as an objective of game designers. If you don't have depth in a game, the kind of depth that enables people to play a game 500 times and still find new things in it and still find it interesting, then you've got to put variety into the game. An epitome of this is Magic the Gathering, where new cards come out each year and so things change, and there are at least 8 editions of the rules as well, probably more. So variety is a way to keep players playing because they run into new things. And one of the things that players appreciate in games is new things. They don't want to have the same thing over and over again. Another objective that has become quite common is to provide rewards to the players. This is especially important in free-to-play video games. You have to give players enough things long enough that they'll continue to play the game and then decide to spend some money. An epitome of this is Diablo 3. Diablo 3 is not a free-to-play game, but it's very much a rewards-based game. If you play long enough and you're persistent enough, you'll succeed. It's not hard. It's easy. Then we start to get into the marketing tools. And the first of these is the hook. Something that grabs player interest, that makes them more likely to try the game, or if it's a game that it costs money, to buy the game. That hook can be a variety of things. One thing it isn't, for example, is abstract games in the tabletop side. Abstract games don't have hooks, or at least they don't have the typical hook, which is a story. If you go and look at a bunch of Euro-style games in a game shop and look at the backs of the boxes, you'll find that the box describes the story of the game, what the game is about, the context of the game, but says very little about how the game plays. Well, that story and so on is the hook. One particular kind of hook that's very popular is looks. You get players interested in the game because of its looks. Oh, that game looks awesome, let's play. Well, we all know that logically the looks have nothing to do with how the game plays. Nonetheless, people are not logical. Novels sell better when they have better covers, even if they're not very good novels. What does the cover have to do with the novel? Nothing. Nonetheless, that's the way marketing works. And so looks is a marketing tool. And of course, in the video game industry, until recently, looks was very, very important. Still, with the onset of the new consoles, you get a lot of people talking about how detailed and photorealistic everything looks. How you can do things with the new consoles that you couldn't with the old ones. And by things, I mean visual things. So looks can be very important. Well, the last of these 6 is what I call smoke and mirrors. This is hype about a game that sounds good and is particularly useful if you're crowdfunding, even though the game may not even exist yet and certainly hasn't been manufactured. And obviously this is a marketing tool because something like Kickstarter is a marketing tool. Unfortunately, marketing has become more important than game quality now. because there's so many thousands of games. And in the video game world, devs can spend less time on a game and then put it out for what I call gamma testing, testing by players who are actually playing it, assuming it's a free-to-play game. And if it doesn't do well, they just drop it and work on something else. If it does well, then they continue to develop it. So they can do 3 games in the time it used to take them to do 1 game. And marketing is also important because of discoverability, which is something that I talk about in a separate lecture.